What is going on, everybody? We are here inside of Bank of America Stadium, a very sad Bank of America Stadium, as Carolina falls to the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 24-16. How's it going, everybody? I'm Andre Cassidy with the man of the people, Chris Jenkins, as he's doing some multitasking. Like always, he knows what he's doing in regards to that. But yeah, just to kind of capture the mood of what everybody is feeling right now. Excuse me, my nose is a little runny. Still trying to, recover from the cold weather that we had earlier this morning. But yeah, it was just a game of, it was just not the kind of performance that you wanted out of a team today when you have all of the marbles on the line. I know we could talk about that moving forward, but just from a general perspective, it was a very tough performance today from Carolina, and really, you needed them to show up today. That was, not the kind of game that you wanted to see out of them today. And, I know for me personally, I don't know about you, Chris, but I felt restless. I mean, there were just so many opportunities, without going too much into depth, where we had it for the taking, and we just needed to hold on to it and take it by the grass, and we just couldn't pull through and couldn't get over that proverbial hump, as they say. But, just a restless feeling that I feel right now, because there was that chance. That chance was right there for the taking, and we just couldn't do it today.
Yeah, we struggled a little bit, but, we're going to go over this game in some detail today. We got some speakers all around us. We're inside today. Why, Andre?
Because it's just too dang cold outside.
It is too dang cold outside, so we're going to do this from inside. And hopefully, let us know in the comments if this speaker is too loud. I'm not sure how much we can do about it because it's literally right above us. And generally post-game, they turn it off, but they got the music playing. But Andre and I are going to take you guys through the post-game recap as we do each and every post-game day. And hey, right now I want to ask you, anybody that's watching, thanks number one for watching, but also hit that like button. Helps other Carolina Panther fans find out about us. Hit that subscribe button. We're really pushing hard to get to 6,000 subscribers. We're getting closer. We're going to march hard like the Panthers are trying to do to close out the season.
Right.
And then also hit the bell notification. That way when we go live just for the purpose of interacting with you. We really want to hear from you guys a lot today, because I want to know what the pulse of Panther Nation is right now with this loss today. The first in 3 games, even though overall Steve Wilks is 3 out of 5. We're going to talk about a few things today, and we're also going to talk about the playoff picture.
Yes.
All right, do you have the scores? Can you go get up the scores from the games? I know we had the Saints and the Buccaneers playing earlier today, and then we got Cincinnati and the Bucks playing right now.
So
but
we're going to be big Cincinnati Bengals fans.
We're going to be,
because we need them to do us a favor, because we could have do ourselves a favor here today.
Yeah, what were the results of that Saints and
drum roll.
Okay, drum roll.
The Saints pulled it off.
They
beat the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 21-18. So that gives us a little bit of some breathing room, because they're kind of solidifying that bottom end of the NFC South. So I guess that does us some favors. But really, the scoreboard watching that we are all paying attention to right now is the Bengals and the Buccaneers. And right now, there is no score in that game.
0-0.
0-0.
First quarter.
With 7 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Okay.
So we'll be keeping an eye on that and updating when needing, because, hey, that's a pretty important game to keep an eye on as well.
That is a very, very important game for the Carolina Panthers in their playoffs. So as of right now, if you can, pull up the standings so we can see exactly what it is. But I believe right now that means we should have a 3-way second-place tie.
Yeah.
I believe is what that would mean. And then the Bucks are up top. But Andre is going to help me out and go to that quickly.
All right, so here we go.
For the current standings.
And these are updated as well, by the way. Let me go back here real quick. So, yeah, it is a 3-way tie at 5-9 for the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons.
5-9.
And if Tampa Bay wins today, that really doesn't do any favors for anybody. That gives them, what, a two-game lead in the NFC South?
I don't know. You got the thing in front. I can't see. You got the black screen.
So they'll be at 500 at 7-7 if they were to win today.
Okay.
And everybody else at 5-9.
So a two-game lead.
That's going to be a pretty bad hole to dig out of with only 3 games left in the season.
Yeah. And this is I won't say it's the worst case scenario because we don't know what's going to happen with that Tampa Bay game. But I was feeling like we would have one game to lose over these final 4. I felt like it would be pretty hard to go run the tables 4-0, given everything, even though it's been great. But we now have the more of the table set, as you like to say. The Panthers lost today. Saints helped us out beating the Falcons, and now we need those. But see, they got the memo. I text Tepper and said, hey, can you cut the music? All right, we're going to go ahead and go through some stats here. Let's go ahead and give a few shout-outs here. Malcolm Gerard Smith says, a darn shame that we lost. And, again, I want to hear from Panther fans right now in terms of knowing how you all feel. It's always a fun thing about doing this show is get to see the feel. On Twitter, you were on Twitter the whole game, in case you didn't watch, and you were able to tune in on Twitter. This is the guy that's manning our Twitter. What's your feel from what you experienced on Twitter today?
The restlessness that I felt from today came from the restlessness that was felt on Twitter. I mean, there was just so many people, for one, who were pretty angry at ourselves as a fan base because we felt like we didn't do a good enough a job of showing out. There were a lot of Steeler fans, excuse me again, in the field. But
we're going to need to get you a hanky.
I guess so. I mean, or like a pocket
But I needed one
something.
pregame, so, you know.
But regardless of the fact, I mean, it was just one of those games, like just from a fan perspective, where, you know, you felt the frustration, you felt the anger, the proverbial anger, and there was a lot of overreactions going on as well. I can think of a couple of people that I can think of on Twitter that were feeling, you know, and getting those opinions out. But, you know, it was just one of those days today where the fans just felt restless and they wanted something to happen, but that something never happened.
You guys can't hear it, but Andre is banging the table as he goes to talk to y'all. So, yeah, the thing about, and I saw someone tweet that it was pretty loud. It was like being at an away game.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got that exact feeling. Now, I will say this. It was a ton of Steelers fans in attendance today.
A lot of terrible towels.
A lot of terrible towels, but I still feel like, you know, what we touched on in pregame, that a lot of that was already pre-sold tickets before Steve Wilks had a chance to take over and get the team to where they are now. But I feel like what I wanted to see was the Carolina Panther fans that were here cheering their team on, and I felt like we got a lot of that today with the Panther fans that were here. They were loud as they could be. They didn't let it. That San Francisco game was still by far the worst. Now, we'll say this. One thing that made that San Francisco game so bad is their team colors is red, which is a pretty bright color to see. The Steelers today, they're black and yellow. So the yellow's bright, but it's still, I don't feel like it was as bright as that red was.
Especially when you have it contrasting up against the blue on the seats. I mean, especially in that San Fran game, that was so obvious. But just from, like, a fan perspective, that was probably the busiest game that we've been to in terms of how many people were here. I mean, the traffic was relatively busy for what we've seen so far this season. We've seen quieter games, but I think so far this year, this has to be one of the busier games that we have covered. And there were, about 73,000 people in the stands today? That was the tickets that were distributed based off of what the Panthers said. But it was a pretty busy game. Maybe a little more one-sided than we would have liked, but, I mean, it's the Steelers. Their fans, they travel everywhere they go, and they're really good fans when it comes to, you know, representing their team on the road. And
I shouldn't talk about your nose because now my nose it's not running, but I feel like this.
Careful,
dang, that hurt on
the
edge. Wow. All right.
Things are turning violent here on the Charlotte Vibe, as they say.
We're just trying to talk
trying
about
to get our anger out for how we feel right now.
Let's go a few more of these comments that came out right here. Making sure that you make sure we're all good there.
We're doing pretty good.
So Malcolm Gerard Smith says Merry Christmas. I guess he's saying that to the
Pittsburgh
Steelers that we gave them that victory, not to me and Andre. We're good guys. We're just telling you, we're just the messenger, man.
Right.
NFL Kid said we didn't do too good. He says we should have been better.
And that's across the board. We got our guy.
We got our guy,
Shaquille.
Yes,
our regular. Thanks for tuning in, Shaquille.
Hey, what took you so long, man? We've been live for about 10 minutes
now. Man.
Come on. He says Steve Wilks got out coached today. We played like trash, but yet they get the day off tomorrow.
Do they get the day off
tomorrow? They do get the day off tomorrow. Shaquille, Coach Wilkes is giving these guys the day off tomorrow because Christmas is Sunday. Most of the games in the NFL are going to take place on Saturday.
Yeah.
So he said because of the short week, he's going to give the guys off tomorrow.
Okay.
And it's not a victory Monday. It's a day off because of the short week. So that is your explanation, Shaquille, for what happened there.
Yeah, if it would have been any other week, they would be in the building tomorrow. That is for sure, because that was not a good performance that they had today.
It was not a good. Let's go ahead and look at some of the stats from today's game. Let's see if I can do this properly here. I don't want to show that yet. Let's see if I can move this one up. No, I don't want to show that one yet.
Jump at the table.
Hey, I had to go quick, so
right.
I don't have a chance to have all these in the order that I wanted them to be in.
So like we say, just bear with us.
Yeah, bear with us. This one should be it right here.
This is a two-man operation.
Boom,
right
there we go. So let's start with my man Sam Darnold today and his performance.
Okay.
You know, I have not been this guy's biggest fan, but I got to say that he did pretty well today. And his stats are right here, 14 of 23. 225 yards, even though it didn't seem like it, I guess, because we saw such a different game than we're used to seeing with Carolina. We're used to seeing them with the ball most of the game, especially from last week, and we'll get over some more of that time possession stuff here in a second. But it just didn't seem like he was that efficient, even though he was. And the big thing here, one touchdown, and here's why he's going to continue to start. He was asked post-game about who's going to continue to start. He said, we'll look at the tape. Sam Darnold, and I'm saying it, and I'm not his biggest fan, right? I haven't been. Sam Darnold is absolutely 1,000% going to continue to start for this team. For this stat that you're looking at here, right here on the screen, 0 interceptions. That is absolutely 1,000% what we need in order to keep ourselves in the game. Because even though we played not like we used to, we had an opportunity. We were only down by technically one score to make it, and we just defensively couldn't do it and didn't get any stops. But his passer rating was a 108.1. You had some things you want to say?
Yeah, not turning the ball over, that's big for him because he is a turnover-prone quarterback. And despite the pressure that he faced today, that's good that he didn't turn the ball over. He's been really taking a lot of pride in making sure that he values the possession every time that he has the opportunity to get out onto the field and play with the offense. So I think part of the reason why you saw a lot of pressure today was because the Steelers did their job. They owned the line of scrimmage. They gave us a taste of our own medicine. So, they were one-dimensional. And, when you have Sam Darnold playing behind a one-dimensional styled offense, and I've said this in the past, he is not a table setter. He needs the table to be set in order for him to fully have a true impact in the game. And while the stats weren't bad, you have to put some context behind the numbers, and he just wasn't effective today. And part of the reason why is because the offense relied on him to move the ball down the field when it should have been Chuba Hubbard, Deontay Foreman, and Raheem Blackshear. But the Steelers' defense did a really good job today at stopping that Panthers run attack, which has been the key over the past 3 games for them in terms of how they've been able to win these football games in the past.
Yeah, and now see, I got to pick with you. You said Sam wasn't effective, but I feel like he was effective. It was the running game that wasn't effective. Because I wanted to pick on it too. Like some of the passes, I feel like the timing wasn't there, and opportunities where he could have, like on the Terrace Marshall, even though Terrace was able to get a pass interference, were able to still move the ball down the field. I felt like the pass still came out a little late.
Yeah.
I felt like there was some times where the timing could have been just a little bit better.
Quicker, right?
Yeah, and it would have gave that guy the chance to get the ball and make a football move a little quicker to gain even more yardage. But again, if Sam's stats were what they were here, 14 to 23, I think at one point he started off the game pretty good in terms of, I don't know if he was 6 of 7, 7 of 8, but he was very good. And the 108 passer rating, that's pretty solid. It's just that we didn't get I feel like we just didn't get the excitement overall on the game that we wanted to see, which makes us like, was it all right? I don't know. Any comment on that? Move on? We can move on. You don't have to have a comment. He doesn't.
We'll leave it at that.
He says we'll leave it at that. All right, let's talk. We don't want to go to defense yet. Let's go to this great Russian attack that we had today. And I don't know the exact point in the game. Fourth quarter, probably halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway through. I'm sitting here waiting to do this tweet. Seemed like forever that we finally get to 10 yards rushing by one of the two guys, Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. Mm-hmm. It took until the final, not the final possession, but close to the final, for one of these guys to get 10 yards. Absolutely the worst case scenario possible. Chuba Hubbard, is this right?
He was our leading rusher.
This doesn't seem right. Only 16 carries overall. I'm going to double check. I know you guys can't see this on the screen really quickly, but I feel like that's so terrible.
That's so unlike what they've done in the past. Like,
that
you look at that
right.
number and those numbers, it just doesn't seem real because of how dominant the Steelers' run defense was today. And, you know, again, the success that we've had in the run game over these past couple of games, that's been our calling card. And then the way that the Steelers' defense was able to just shut it down completely. I mean, you look at those numbers and you're like, what? That was all that we were able to do today?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just insane. I mean, no other, like, just 10 yards for Chuba Hubbard. Like, you just cannot comprehend those kinds of numbers, especially when, you know, we've been running the ball so efficiently over these past couple of weeks.
Speechless?
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to put it. I'm just speechless with how they were able to shut it down today for a team, Pittsburgh, who's middle in the pack. Like, what are they, 15th in the NFL in run defense? To be able to put up that kind of performance today, it just shows you how much fight that they still have left because they're still in the hunt for the playoffs as well. So
they are?
They're in the hunt. They don't have a realistic shot, I don't think.
In the hunt category?
But they're in the hunt. So, I mean, you got to take it for something,
right?
That's
Okay.
something of significance there. So, you know, they still have a lot of fight and a lot of belief, and that's a testament to Coach Tomlin and what he's been able to do over there in Pittsburgh.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Tomlin's a great coach. So, final stats on this for the rushing. Chuba, 4 carries, 10 yards, 2.5 yard average. Deontay Foreman, 10 carries. So, he has almost twice as many carries, has 1 less yard with 9 total. He had it long, though, 5. And then Sam Darnold, 2 carries, 2 yards.
That still blows my mind.
One of those carries, I think a lot of us were mystified.
It was
third and 8 at the 10-yard line, I believe it was.
Yeah, we were down 2 possessions with like 7 minutes to go.
Give it to Sam. He has the wheels to not only get a few yards, but get 8 yards in a goal line situation up the middle. It didn't work out too well. All right, let's keep on moving along here. On the receiving side, DJ Moore, go ahead, throw pie at my face here. You're not going to do it?
I'm a classy man, Chris, but I'll say it anyway. This guy was like, oh, man, you know, DJ Moore, oh, we're glad that we have him back, kind of just pushing him to the side. Look at the performance he had today. I mean, that was pretty good out of him. You know, you needed a performance out of him today like that because to only put up, I mean, he didn't even have a catch last week.
He did not.
So to be able to.
It's a long trip to not have a catch.
It's a long trip to realize that all you did was run
around,
get
be a decoy.
Cardio.
Yeah.
But they got him involved early and often in those first couple of series in that, you know, for the Panthers offense. And I felt like they needed to because, you know, despite how he played last week, I mean, there were games even before last week where you're like, is he going to get the ball? Are they going to include him in the offense? Like, what's going on here? We got to get him involved because he is that kind of caliber player. And then that one touchdown that he had that gave us our first touchdown of the game, I mean, that was a really good play by Sam Darnold to extend the play. And it was just a great catch because, I mean, he was covered, but he was still able to pull it in. But it was good that we had him out there today because he is the leader of that receiving corps, and they feed off of that energy. Guys like Terrace Marshall, Shi Smith, Laviska Shenault, they feed off of what DJ Moore does because he sets that example at that position group.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see it on the screen over here, but it says in the hunt, Chargers, Jets, Jaguars, Browns.
There's the Steelers right there.
Steelers, as my man Andre Cassidy.
They are still in it.
Yes.
Theoretically speaking.
All right, let's go ahead and look at the full stats here on the receiver. So we had DJ Moore leading the receivers with 5 receptions. Well, not leading in the receptions, but actually he did lead in receptions, as well as yards with 73. Had the 1 touchdown on 6 targets. So, you know, a very good game for him statistically, targets and receptions. Chuba Hubbard with that 45-yard long reception puts him in at 57 yards. Terrace
So
Marshall.
it looks a little inflated, right?
It looks a little inflated. Terrace Marshall Jr. had a pretty good game, 3 catches with 40 yards. And my man Shi Smith starting a little brawl after the catch. You know, he doesn't back down. Shi Smith with
Speaks
one
for itself
catch,
right there.
24 yards on 3 targets. Overall, again, Sam Darnold finishing with 225 yards passing. So there you have that right there. And let's go ahead. I got some more stats, but, you know, why do we go live?
It's for you.
To interact. So we got some comments that I want
This
to.
is a family, man, a Charlotte Vibe fam. We want to hear from you, so keep leaving those comments because I know a lot of you out there are quite frustrated, like we are.
I'm not frustrated.
I'm frustrated because this was our
You gonna claim
chance,
that?
man. This was our chance today, man, to potentially be on top of the NFC South. So if you're out there and you're watching, do not hesitate.
Do not
Leave your
hesitate.
comments because we want to hear from you. And just get the vibe.
Get the vibe?
Get the vibe of what's going on here all across the Carolinas, right?
I know I'm walking off camera unexpectedly for you, but I just want to check something here on everything that we have set.
Yeah, but again, like I said, do not hesitate to leave your comments. I'm seeing a couple of them right now. There's some feisty ones already. Shaquid already making his opinion known, as always. So again, Shaquid, thank you for continuing to be a valued member of this family that we call the Charlotte Vibe fam.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been, you know, how do we put it? Let me just say this too. I'm a little jumbled.
Go.
When it comes to the receiving game, Laviska Shenault, it just popped up in my head. He didn't have any catches today, did he?
He did not have any catches today. That is correct.
You know, there were multiple opportunities in this game today where I felt like they could have did the whole bubble screen play that they love running with him.
Bubble screen to Shenault?
Yeah. So like that third down play, right, when they ran that QB draw, which really lit up Twitter, by the way. You should have seen the reaction. Oh, my goodness. It was just, it's like, what is that play call in that situation there? I felt like that would have been the perfect time to run a play like that to Laviska Shenault because at least you'll get something. I mean, even if it's, you know, a couple of yards, that would make it a more manageable fourth down call in that situation. But it was just a boneheaded play call by, can I name drop Ben McAdoo?
Yeah, name drop.
It's just why. You need a touchdown there, and that's your best call in that situation. Your best chance to get a first down is a Sam Darnold draw play. Ooh,
Sam, I am.
That's a lot to be desired right there. But, man, that was just missed opportunities, as they say, right?
That was Ron Rivera's favorite line. Ali Bodrick says, welcome back, fellas.
What's going on, Allie? Hope you're doing well, man.
The Steelers used our game plan against us today.
They sure did.
And they, as Andre touched on, they really had control of this game very early on. And I know that first drive in which the Steelers scored, you just felt like, well, dang, isn't that what we do? Like, they just ran it straight down the middle. I saw a lot of our guys not making that first tackle on the first contact. And then I saw a lot of Pittsburgh. I feel like you saw Pittsburgh playing with a little confident swagger, right? Like, they'd get that initial contact, which they you know, would shed the block or shed the tackle, I should say. And then as they continue to rush or do whatever they were doing, whether it was rush or reception, they would still fight and like afterwards just be like, ah.
It's like they feeded off of that. You know, they feeded off of the energy of, you know, guys missing tackles, and it just gave them more push, more of that extraness to say, hey, I can fight through you, I can get through you. And even on the first touchdown that they had, there were like 3 missed tackles on the way for that first touchdown for the Steelers. I mean, it was just kind of just all throughout today. It was just a lot of undisciplined play and a lot of uncharacteristic play from the Panthers defense.
Yeah, and earlier this week, and I listened to it again before I came on because I wanted to be accurate in saying this, Coach Wilkes talked about his team had it was on Wednesday when he talked about the practice, and I forget the exact words now, unfortunately, but he said something like, we had a good practice, but I need to see the intensity better.
Yeah.
He said, like, he needs to see something like we're not there yet where we need to be for the game on Sunday. That's what he said on Wednesday. And when he started off his press conference, which we're going to touch on here, he talked about first thing he talked about was saying it's my fault. You know, it's my fault. I didn't have these guys ready. I feel like he knew that he needed to get these guys ready. I feel like he knew the coach that he was going up against and how this was an opportunity for them. You know, of course, there's this talk out there about the Panthers making the playoffs, which is valid. We're certainly in the mix. But, you know, I feel like he knew Tomlin would do everything he can to get a psychological edge and have these guys ready. And didn't want his guys to be weak off of that. And I felt like that happened, and he's like, ugh. But, again, let's pop through a few more comments here. The Steelers did use our game plan against us. We got bullied. I feel like I can agree with you there. We did get bullied today. How long before 28 is cut? I can play harder than 28, and I never played football except for playing on Madden. Whoa. Well, you know, you got to make it to the pro level first. And
there's a process, right?
He made it to the pro level. So guys typically don't get cut after a bad game. But you can certainly hope that they learn from it and get a little bit better from this.
It's a teaching moment for Keith Taylor today. You know, he had a rough performance today, filling in for C.J. Henderson, who got hurt and ultimately didn't return to the game. So we're still waiting to hear more information about that. But his absence today really, really hurt the secondary.
C.J. Henderson.
C.J. Henderson, yeah. Who would have thought I would be saying that at this point in the season after the amount of heat that he got at the beginning of the year for his performance?
Yeah, I was making sure that you were talking about C.J. Henderson.
Why is that?
Because you said we missed him. You know, it's like the guy. I'm throwing this guy.
I never thought I would be saying that.
Andre, let's talk about your feeling. Are you still like distraught right now from this loss? We could talk about it. I mean, we get up to an hour-long show.
Folks.
Andre before the game was honestly excited, right?
Yes,
right?
yes.
So go ahead and talk about it, man.
Oh man, so
let's be raw. Like let's connect to the people here. Let them know.
Right?
Yeah, let's be real about it.
So I was pretty excited. Like when I rolled up to Chris's office today, I was like, man, we're feeling pretty good. You know, we're like right on the. You know, we're about to go over something here, right? I could just feel it, like that sense of, man, that opportunity is right there for the taking.
Right.
That's why I was excited. And, you know, I try to, you know, be a little tame in the excitement because I don't want to get too hype, right? But as the game just like went along, you know, the soul of the team kind of just, it was taken from us.
Yeah.
Like that whole idea of the Steelers bullying us. That's exactly what happened today. And they just took, you know, all the energy that we had, like either in the stadium or on the streets here in Uptown Charlotte, took it away, and they're putting it in this big old proverbial bag, and they are flying away with it. And now it's like, man, what just happened? It just leaves you speechless. And it was such a gut punch today because you know you were right there. Like, you're just a game out from potentially being on top. And now you're looking at potentially being 2 games behind with 3 games to go. So
sorry to keep walking away from you, but I'm still with it.
The excitement, man, was there. I felt it in the building today. Definitely felt it on Twitter, watching you guys comment on this game on the Twitter page today. That excitement was there, but as the game went along, it just felt like it was just slowly getting away from us. And that's why, you know, I feel restless right now. It's like, man, you know, we were right there, and it just never materialized the way that I thought it could have. And, you know, I said earlier in the pregame show, like, I wasn't even alive when the Panthers beat the Steelers back in 1996, and they have lost, what is it now, like 7 straight games since, you know, that first game, that first matchup that they've had. In their, 30-year franchise history, they've only beaten the Steelers once. Well, unfortunately, that still is the case today as they fall to, 1-7 overall in their matchups with the Steelers.
Question of the moment. So do you feel like our playoff chances are now a whole lot less than what they were at 1 p.m. Eastern time today?
They are, but I still feel like we have a chance.
But so you're saying it's way worse? You don't feel as optimistic as you did at 1 o'clock today?
I don't want to say way worse, but I do feel like it did slip away a little bit.
That was our best chance.
It did slip away,
yeah.
But there still is an opportunity, and it helps that we do play Tampa Bay on New Year's Day. That's going to be the big matchup right there if things come to fruition the way that we think it could.
The way we hope.
The way that we hope. But the writing is still on the wall. There's still a path, but it got a little bit dimmer today.
Okay.
It did.
There's a bunch of screens around us, so keep scoreboard watching for that Tampa game.
Yes.
And let me show this comment right here.
3-0, by the way. Tampa Bay is up right now on the Bengals.
Well, you can keep those updates to yourself. Yeah. just tell us the updates.
I think they want to know too, man.
You guys want? I'm just messing. I'm just messing. I like to have fun on the show. Hope you guys enjoy watching us have fun. Watch me give him a hard time. Anytime you want to make me cry on camera, just say Myrtle Beach. No, the pregame. If you haven't seen the pregame show, I don't know what point in the pregame show it was, but he said Myrtle Beach as the place to go, and I literally was crying laughing because it's not the first place that I think of going. I would say Tampa even before I said Myrtle Beach because we're playing Tampa, but I like this guy a lot.
I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my mind, but there it was, right?
There it was, and we took it. Shaqi said, "Can we blame Chris for leaving the Panthers defense in Seattle?" No, you can't blame me for that, man.
As much as we want to do, as much as we want to blame Chris, we want to blame somebody, but it's not Chris. Man.
Not Chris.
He just covers the team. He doesn't coach the team. Right?
Wouldn't be too good at that anyway. But let's go ahead and go on the defensive side. And Andre, if you have some comments on this, that would be great. But I'm going to just touch on this defensively. Our leading tackler was Jeremy Chin. Good to see him doing that. We had some pass deflections. We didn't have any interceptions today, which would have been great. But Shaq Thompson, Luvu, and Ioannidis had some problems with some flags called, I think. Because anytime you're hearing these defensive linemen's names called, more than likely it's either a sack, which we didn't. Did we have any today?
We had one from Burns and Luvu. They combined for one.
Okay.
But I think that was the only one that we had today.
Okay, yeah. Ioannidis, I heard his name twice, and it wasn't for sacks. So not too good there overall, but Ioannidis with 6 tackles. But, again, he was part of having a tackle for a loss. And
scored.
Luvu had a sack. But defensively, the biggest thing today was the physicality.
Yep.
And I tweeted about that earlier. Like, this game looked like it's going to be physical today. We even had some things where there were some pushing and shoving. I couldn't think of something. He's going to do some pushing and shoving after several plays. And one play where I was telling Andre, like, look, what's going on? He's like, how, what? Like, that guy's in our huddle.
He's in the huddle,
that guy's
man.
in our
That's
huddle.
something going on right there. And it turned out to be something because it was an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which gave us some momentum to start the fourth quarter.
It gave us a chance that we weren't able to capitalize on. But nevertheless, let me see if I got a few more notes here that I want to touch on before we really dive deep into you all's
and can I just say this about the numbers today for the defense?
Yeah, go for it.
There were a lot of missed tackles today. That's really the first thing that I want to address is man, there was just poor discipline on so many levels from the secondary to the front seven. There was just so many missed opportunities in terms of just tackling, just straight up tackling, just simply getting your arms around, the player and just bringing them to the ground. I mean, that's the first thing that was really, frustrating to watch. And then really the other thing too, the lack of pressure and the lack of turnovers. Yeah. We were not able to force any turnovers today, which was one of the keys that we had. If we were able to do what we did last week with Seattle, which was turn the ball over and as early as often as we could have had a fair shot today. And, while it was just an 8-point variance, I mean, 1 or 2 of those plays, and we had opportunities to pick off Trubisky today. If Shaq Thompson would have held on to that interception right before the end of the first half.
That was a tough one, though.
It was a tough one.
Because I think he got it was just too short,
He was leaning to try to get the ball.
Yeah.
But you didn't really have more opportunities after that. So that's the part of it where it's man, I wish he would have caught it because, after that, it was hard for them to really, get into that position to force Trubisky to make mistakes because they just couldn't stop the run. And then ultimately, the lack of the pass rush is because of their inability to stop the run.
Yeah. You said somebody scored? So who
it was Tampa.
So you want to give us a scoring update on that?
It's 10-0 Tampa. So not
Tampa
looking
Bay,
good. Tampa Bay right now, but there's still plenty of time left. So we'll try to be optimistic here and say, Cincy, please do us some favors because we need y'all to beat Tampa today.
Yeah.
If Tampa wins, that's another gut punch right there.
But there could be optimism in terms of Tampa winning today because we just came off a weekend where a team came back from 33 points.
Yes.
So 10 points against Tom Brady. What's that? Let's go a little bit on Wilkes. Wilkes, again, he took blame for the game today. He said the offense, one of the problems on the offense was they couldn't create any momentum. Yep. As you saw there, the stats for the rushing, it was pretty terrible. Off the top of my head, what was it, 21 yards rushing or something like that? It was just as awful as it could be. Third down conversions was horrendous. Those are Coach Wilkes' words, horrendous. Yep. Third down conversions for the Carolina Panthers was 4 out of 11, 36%. 3 of those happened very, very early on, and only 1 of those happened later in the game. So they were really spread out, not giving us a chance to win. And then on the other side of the ball, it was the complete opposite. Yep. The Pittsburgh Steelers were 12 of 16.
Just phenomenal numbers for them.
12 of 16. They were at 75% success rate on converting their third downs, able to keep the ball alive. And for those that are watching, because I know a lot of you seem to be pissed off because you're not on here, but it was toward the end of the game that it really, really killed us. Yep. It was that last possession and where you're like, I forget the time, but let's say it was maybe a little bit more than 3 minutes
or so.
Yeah, it was time that if we got the ball back, we would have had a very good opportunity to score and didn't have to go rush. Might have been about close to the 4-minute mark once they converted the third down. So you're right, it could have been 5 minutes overall. And it was third and, I'm going to guess 14. It was long. It was more than 10 yards. And we were playing in man, which I think we did most of the game. So, sometimes I just want to capture myself or prevent myself from being over analytical, and anytime something happens you're like, well, yeah, that was wrong, because that's an easy hindsight 2020. But they had been doing that most of the game, and they wanted to get pressure, and I don't think it was a bad call to say, let's go man, let's put a lot of pressure on this guy. He's not a seasoned starter, and see if we can either get him to throw the ball away or just be able to get a quick tackle on a reception. And man, neither one of those happened. They did not get good pressure on him. And not only did they catch the ball, I think it was on, what's our guy? We'll just call him 28.
Keith Taylor.
And he lets him catch the ball. And then not only does he let him catch it, he makes a move on him and gets another 5 or 7 yards. And it's like, okay, all right, that happened. But we still got a chance, right? We still got a chance, and there's another third down opportunity. Again, third and long. I know it's at least 10 yards or right about at 10 yards. And we let them get it again.
On the same guy, too. They were targeting Keith Taylor, I feel like, that entire drive.
Yeah.
I mean, on that first one that you were mentioning there, I mean, that was part of the reason why you send the pressure, is because you want Trubisky to make that quick decision. But it never got there. The pressure never got there. Even with like 8 or 9 people, well, not that many, but at least 7 or 8 people in the box, you still couldn't get any pass rush. And that was so frustrating on that first one. And then on that second one, I think Trubisky knew, like, who can I throw to that's not defended by J.C. Horn? And it was Deontay Johnson, who he kept throwing to on those back-to-back third down plays. And he just kept targeting Keith Taylor, and it was just so frustrating to see how far off Keith Taylor was on his receiver. And then it was just not a good situation, because there were time after time again where they had opportunities to get off the field, and ultimately they just couldn't get the job done, especially on those third down plays, and particularly on that last ride that the Steelers had.
And I'm going to show how hard it is for me to remember guys' names. I need people to have more unique or common names,
right?
Because you got Deontay, that is spelled like our Deontay, but it's pronounced, but it's spelled
differently. Yeah.
And then you got Dante, which isn't on the field right now, which helps me out, because I think I just been. You guys are like, what's wrong, Chris? I'm like, I'm trying to remember these guys' names, but anyway, always some humor here. So, time of possession. Again, we just came on. I think and tell me your opinion, what really makes us seem so like, is just how opposite of a game this was compared to how we played against Seattle last week. It's like they just completely Carolina Panthers us against Seattle time of possession, 36 minutes for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 23 minutes for the Carolina Panthers. So not exactly what we did last week against Seattle, but eerily close.
Do you think there was a jet lag factor with Carolina?
Yeah, I know we're going to be trying to search for reasons for it today.
It's just a hypothetical. But
It's a good hypothetical, but I honestly feel like this. It's still hard to win each and every week in the NFL.
It is.
And it's still a team that has an interim head coach that's getting everything together. Mm-hmm. And we want it to be the case that we see that same performance each and every Sunday. And we just didn't get it today. We do play against guys that are highly skilled on the other side as well. And again, Mike Tomlin has been coaching at Pittsburgh since what, 2007 or something?
I mean, he's that dude.
He's a good
that dude.
In the press release, I wish I could show you the picture, right? Tomlin's always an intense guy. And even in his press release picture, like Steve Wilkes, he's kind of intense too, but he looked just regular, like straight face.
Yeah.
Tomlin looked like his eyes were about to pop, like, maybe stay here 1 second longer and I'm going to crush. So it's just, I think a lot of it, what we saw today was just good DNA from Tomlin as a head coach that carries over to his team, and they were able to play pretty good football. I don't know how many games they've lost before they came in here today, but they also
had the same record as what we had.
Well, like in a row. Like I know they most recently
okay.
lost to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know. Coaches try to improve off of a game certainly when they just had a loss and come here and say, "Hey guys, this is our chance."
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that was a time of possession today, and that was something that Coach Steve Wilkes talked about today, but he's already started to get these guys ready for next week.
Yep.
He said this game is behind us. It's done. We can't do anything about it. I can't go back and change it. They're certainly going to watch the tape. They're certainly going to grade the guys, but he is ready to go forward and focus on the Detroit Lions, and I think that's a mark of his coaching that's good. And something that I like about today is even though we could say, God darn it, they lost, and there were some bad things that happened, but we had a chance to win this game. It was not like a fight where you just see, uppercut, and the Panthers are staggering and it's just getting worse. And just think about what they've done to Sam Darnold. You would have expected him today to throw that ball away, to have an interception. And I didn't like every
fumble, right?
Or fumble.
Yeah.
It's things that I would like. Good. Those are reasons why I haven't liked Sam Darnold. But he did not do anything to take away significantly from this chance for the Carolina Panthers to win.
He looked mature today.
Yeah.
I think he played very mature. And to really go back to what you said about Coach Wilkes, I mean, that's a tone that he has had since he's been here. Whether win, lose, or tie, it's always the next one. And it's always one game at a time. And while they didn't particularly play well today, and there's going to be some things that they're going to look at over the next 24 hours as they prepare for Detroit, that is the mindset now. Detroit. We're on to Detroit. I mean, we play them here in Charlotte, but we're on to Detroit in terms of facing our next opponent. And, he's a very focused individual when it comes to, being, in a rhythm and also being in a routine. And he has them in that routine, and that's been the tone that he has set since he's been here. So you got to give him credit for that. But, there's still some things that, he needs to address about today's game that I feel like, people in the media need to ask him about.
You know what? I have enjoyed seeing probably many of you are the post-game locker room talks by Wilkes.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to post one since we lost today, but I would love to hear what he said to the team post-game, and I will ask him that tomorrow if there's a chance for me to do so.
Yeah.
But Wilkes, he says, we've been down this road before. We've lost a game. Cincinnati kicked our butts, and we came back. And he said, don't let it, that's his thing, don't let it get in the way. As in, it happened. Now let's move on and continue to play some good football. We got about 15 minutes left, so I am going to spend the rest of this show with my co-host talking to you guys, all right? That's why we're live. You guys have been on here for a while, so let's do this. All righty. Trying to get this up on the screen here. Not having a running game as a result has to do with the O-line not creating a running room. The question that everyone on this team should be asked is it too hard for you guys to play hard? So they got beat today on the O-line, no doubt about that.
They sure did, yep. And, yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of what Shaquille said, they did get out physical today. I mean, Pittsburgh's, historically speaking, a very physical team, and that is their calling card and their reputation. And it showed today. I mean, there were moments in this game where I felt like they were in some of the Panther players' heads today. And, I think from a mental perspective at least, they had the edge. And, while the Steelers had moments in the game where they kind of shot themselves in the foot, really for the most part they were able to control basically every aspect of the game today, physically, mentally, and, just all three phases of the game. They were really able to put a Pittsburgh Steelers stamp on this game today.
Yeah, we gave about 150-something yards today on the rushing attack for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm just going to check a few things, give you all a chance to say anything that may be coming to mind. Andre, I don't know if there's anything that we hadn't touched on from today's game that you want to touch on. Feel free to do so if you have not done so.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, let's talk about Steve Wilks.
Okay.
Let's reevaluate where he is right now in terms of the permanent head coaching spot.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is going to hurt his chances, right? There's no doubt about it. Losing to Dave Tepper's original team that he was with, right,
mm-hmm.
before he was with the Panthers, that's a pretty significant loss. But
how did they lose? Was it a loss?
It was still a competitive football game. So you have that going for him. They didn't get blown out.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have – they had a chance. They had a chance the entire game, and that was what was so frustrating about this game. They just didn't take that chance and go with it, right? But, of course, with a loss today, that's going to hurt him a little bit.
Yeah.
But, again, the tone. I keep saying this word tone. And the focus. That's something that he's been able to do and something he's been able to establish across the whole team. You lose a game, put it behind you, move forward, and try to prepare for your next opponent. And, while, we didn't particularly have our best game today, I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted by that Tampa Bay game that's on the screen right now.
I keep wondering, because I'm looking, I see the New England game.
Yeah.
And then I look over here,
They got all
but a
these
little bit
games
further
on
down.
right now.
Okay, so that's not the.
No,
they're
they had it
cutting
flipped.
to it. Okay.
Yeah, because they're doing the whole red zone thing,
Okay.
right? But
was there a score update that you want to share with us?
no, it's
Or
still
you
the
missed
same.
it?
I think it was a missed field goal. That's
Okay.
what it was.
All right.
That they were showing.
Hey, the people want to know. So anytime
Yeah,
you get that update.
There you go. It's still 10-0 in Tampa. But again, for me, he's still the favorite. He's still somebody that I feel like, again, we still need to see more from in order to solidify that position. But when you're down and when you see how they lose, how did they lose? And like you said, how did they lose? Was it close? Was it, did they have a chance? They still had a chance in today's game. So I think it does hurt his case a little bit. But also at the same time, it happens.
Now, Shaquille's on here saying that he was out-coached. I'm going to ask you this first, and then I'm going to tell you my take.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they were out-coached?
Yes. Just simply because I think personally Tomlin is just a better coach, and he had them playing a certain way. And again, he gave Carolina a taste of their own medicine. They started out quick, and they were able to control the line of scrimmage. And really, Coach Wilks couldn't make any adjustments, any sizable adjustments that would have changed the course of the game. So I think, for him, that may be a weakness of his. And, that was obviously a weakness with Coach Rule, was having those in-game adjustments and doing something different. He's very set in stone on, hey, we got to do this, this, and this, and if we do all these things, we can win.
Mm-hmm.
But, you don't really see the slight tweaks that he could have made in the game where it could have went the other way. So that to me is probably what you can say. If you're criticizing him, that's the one thing you can validly say that could be lacking with Coach Wilks.
Now, first I was not going to go for being out-coached, but as I hear you, I agree. He was out-coached because Tomlin had his guys more ready than Wilks had his guys.
Yeah.
But I will disagree with you on the point of the game changes. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like the Carolina Panthers made a game change very, very quickly. They run the ball 40, 41, 46 times a game. And for them to jump ship and abandon that run attack so quickly,
Yeah.
I think was you can disagree, and I want to hear it if you disagree, if you guys disagree. But to me, he was like, whoa. Not only stopping the run, we're having no chance with the running. We're getting no push. My guys are not getting any blocks shedded. We got to balance this out. So I applaud Coach Wilkes for saying, we're not going to be able to run the ball today. We got to split it up. And they were, I wish I had all of my notes directly in front of me. I'm going to try to see if I have them in front of me. But I know very early on, after the first two possessions, we were 50-50 run to pass, which is extraordinarily not what he wants to be.
Yeah.
So for me, for a guy that's like so emphatic about the run and knowing how that could just take the energy out of a defense, he said, I'm not going to be too prideful in what we must be. I got to survive and win today. And he tried to put the pass game in there to mix it up and give these guys an opportunity to win. And I like that because I still feel like some people say, well, just keep running, it could work. Well, you could be giving yourselves you could be giving the Steelers a very short field. If you're running the ball, our average run was less than 2 yards or 1 yard. It was terrible. We had 10 yards.
So it wasn't good. Let's just say that.
If he kept running it, and I'm running, I'm going to still, I don't care what you're doing, I'm going to run it. Man, Heckert might have punted a ton more than he did today. So I applaud him for making that coaching change and his philosophy. Say, hey, we got to put the ball in the air a little bit.
And, that's probably the last thing that he wanted to do, too, because, again, Sam Darnold isn't that guy where you can just sling it with him 40, 50 times a game. We know what that entails if that's the case. He's just a turnover-prone quarterback.
So that's where you got to give Sam credit.
But you got
to give him a lot of credit because he threw how many times did he throw?
28 times. Right?
28 times?
Yeah, 14 to 28 or something like that.
No interceptions.
No interceptions, and he did have a touchdown. So, I mean, those are solid numbers for the standard that Sam Darnold has, right? I mean, those are pretty good numbers. It was just all the other aspects that didn't line up and play. We weren't physical in the run game, and we got out-physicaled on the other end of the field. So, while he did have a solid game, he kind of needed to play spectacular in order to overcome some of the deficiencies that the team had today. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, and I don't know if that defense would have even given him a chance today. They weren't stopping the Steelers, right?
Like the third quarter, like when the second half started, I looked over at the time, Chris. They still had the ball. 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and they started out with the ball.
Yeah.
They had it for 11 minutes. It was a 20-play drive that spanned 90 yards in nearly 12 minutes of game time.
Yeah.
If that's not a sign of a defense incapable of getting off the field, I don't know what is. I mean, it was, again, that part of me where it's like, come on, do something. And it just never happened. It was right there, and it just never came to be. And that drive right there to start the second half was really the trend and the summary of the whole game. Getting out-physicaled, outclassed, and not taking advantage of what could have happened.
How do you like being indoors versus our pregame show?
Oh, I think you made the greatest decision probably of the year, man. I mean, I was surviving for like maybe 20 minutes, and then in the middle of that pregame show, I could not feel my feet. And I thought I had some pretty thick socks on, but I guess they were not thick enough.
They're not.
Because I was over here like doing this, trying to get some blood flow. Hopefully it didn't pick up on camera when we were on earlier today. But man, oh man, it was no joke. And we're going to be in 6 short days in even colder conditions.
Is it going to be colder?
It's supposed to be upper 30s.
Oh, man.
Of course, that could change, right?
It could change.
But how it looks right now, it's going to be even chillier than what we had to deal with today.
Well, if there's anybody with a condo in uptown Charlotte, with a nice little view of the city that wouldn't mind a little 3-person crew joining you around 11-ish
with
next
a nice
Saturday.
View of the city, right?
Little lights and equipment take over. Hey, we'll shout you out. Feel free to have us in so we could have a nice, cool, warm place.
Right.
We don't need a cool place, a warm place to do our show. That's going to take us through the rest of this show today. I appreciate everybody for tuning in with my man Andre Cassidy and myself. Hit that subscribe button, please. And we got to start a trend, okay? of the word that we're going to say for people who watch the show to the very end. I made up the one earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the hashtag to make up.
I've been saying this a lot, especially when I open up and when I close.
Okay.
Hashtag Charlotte Vibe Fam. Leave that hashtag in the comments because this is a family, right?
Yeah.
You know, we say friends and family, but truly this is a family affair.
Right.
I truly believe that. So leave that in the comments section below. If you made it all the way to the end of this live stream today, we really do appreciate everybody who tunes in, especially our loyal viewers. Man, you guys are amazing. You're passionate, and we love you for it. And again, thank you for everything that you do for us because, again, we do this for all of you. We do this for all of you out there, and we love doing it. And, again, thank you for everything that you do for us.
I checked the score to the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I forgot, so let me tell you once more. Current score as of 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Bucks 10, Bengals 0 with 6 minutes left to go in the game. So that'll do it for us from Bank of America Stadium. We will continue our traditional weekly Monday 7 p.m. hour-long show. Maybe some of you will be feeling better by then and join us. Ask me your Carolina Panthers questions with Andre and myself. We'll see you then. Chris Jenks along with Andre Cassidy. Thank you so much for watching.